episode 3 of the Unplugged podcast. We've got myself, Hayley, and our guest, Rachel King, who's just came back after a successful stint in Japan. Today we'll be covering a little bit about our experience in Japan, plus what is coming up for the carnival time, and our thoughts on all things racing in the last few months since she's been away. And let's kick it off with Rach. Welcome back to Oz.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Nice to be back in the sunshine.
Yes, it's holding off today. It's a little bit overcast, but it's quite nice. We are heading into the autumn carnival, obviously, so change of temperatures are inevitable. Now, you've just been in Japan. How was that? How was your time in Japan?
Yeah, it was amazing. Just an incredible experience. Very different. Pretty much everything was very different. But just, great experience to get to ride a huge variety of horses, different racetracks, things like that. And I think I learned a lot, just learned to ride somewhere else, I guess. And anything that kind of pushes you out of your comfort zone, I think is great to do. And you're always out there learning, it's a sort of continuous stream of trying to, get better. And I think going away and challenging myself has definitely done that.
How cold was it?
It was pretty cold.
What was your day like? Did you have much snow?
It actually only snowed one day in Tokyo when I was there. Actually saying that. No, sorry. 2 days. It did snow one day when I was riding, but it was like an English snow. It was like a wet rain that was trying to be snow.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really sort of proper snow. But then there was one day that it was, I remember it was all over social media and everything that like, oh my God, it's snowing in Tokyo. Like it doesn't happen very often.
So it's a bit like Sydney. So
yeah, it's like
okay.
It doesn't happen very often. It got a proper blanket of snow. But then I got to, when we went up to Hokkaido to see sort of some of the breeding operations up there, that was proper snow there, like meters of snow. So that was pretty cool.
Looking at the stats, you had a pretty cruisy couple of months. Like I felt like there was just winner after winner. So it was 17 winners all up, but that included the one in December. So without that, for the short stint, it was 16 winners, but 7 of them were stakes winners.
Yeah,
that was pretty epic.
It was great. Look, winners obviously make trips like that sort of easier, but to get just a continuous flow was great, and to get that number of stakes winners was, really something I sort of wanted to do, but I didn't know if it would be possible. But it was great to be competing in that kind of class of race, and then to get the 7 winners in those stakes races was just an added bonus.
And then Chuck Nate, he was your first listed winner. Wait, Group 2 winner?
Group 2 winner.
Group 2
yeah.
winner. So then that race, that win, made you the first foreign female to ride a Group 1?
Yes.
That
was pretty
exciting.
cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And look, to do it, obviously Mr. Hori trained him as well, and he was a huge supporter of mine while I was there. So it was great to, get that sort of big one, I guess. That was kind of my big one, on the board for him. It was a great day.
Why? So how did you end up getting on Chuck Nate? Was this just something that he thought was going to be a good fit, or had your manager sort of hunted up for that one? Like, how did you end up?
Look, to be honest, I was very lucky with Mr. Hori. He literally threw everything at me, which he's done in the past with a lot of sort of visiting jockeys. He's just a big supporter of the internationals. He's got great owners that are obviously on board as well, that support his decisions. There are certain owners over in Japan that obviously do have their favoured jockeys, but Hori seems to have, I think, that very good reputation that, he's very good at judging, and he knows if he's confident to say, yes, I want this person on, the owners generally just go with him. So he was fantastic. He literally put me on everything he had. And in the same way, he also, would quite happily weigh it up. And if I was offered something else that he thought might be better than his one in the race, I would ride for someone else. So it was Chuck Nate was one that, came up sort of relatively early in the trip, which was good as well. He was a horse that I was hoping might even get down to Sydney, but unfortunately not this year. But we'll keep trying, because I think he'd be a great Sydney Cup horse.
And for anyone who didn't know and who is a Gossip Girl fan, he was called Chuck Knight after the Gossip Girl. And after that, I was like, once I worked that out, someone pointed out on Twitter actually, because I was like, Chuck Knight, that's such a bizarre name. And then I was like, oh, he's my Gossip Girl. He's not a Gossip Girl, so that was epic. Being the first female to ride a group race there with Chuck Knight, did they do anything different in the celebratory afterwards? Like, was anyone, because were you aware that you were the first female?
No, I didn't know. I mean, they do like a sort of, they do a presentation and have trophies and things for pretty much for every race, but it's slightly different for the group races. You sort of get something extra, and it's like the owners get presented. You have the photo with the horse and all that kind of stuff, and you get the little rosette that I had like pinned on my. I definitely won more rosettes over there than I've ever won on my own horses. So. That was quite cool, and little gifts and things, and you win different prizes and things like that for those group races. So, but I didn't realise until afterwards, that it was a milestone as well.
And watching it from afar, especially through social media is one of the best ways to be reviewed, as you well know. Reading from especially the Japanese that were following it, and again, broken English, Google Translate, reading the commentary of it, they look to be very responsive to yourself, very friendly, very pro jockey, horse racing. How did you find the reception from the so-called fans of the sport and the people who would be betting on it? They're just on another level. Like, the crowd overall that they get at the races is incredible. There's the sheer numbers. I mean, like saying before, like, it was cold. It wasn't a particularly nice day out to go and be a spectator, a lot of the time, but it was packed every weekend I rode. Even if there wasn't necessarily a big sort of feature race, that was still packed. But she's riding a winner like it. They just, there's no reception like it. They just go nuts for any winner, but especially the group winners. And it was actually really nice because after Chuck Nate won, I wasn't in the next race, so I was able to actually spend a bit of time with all the fans, and they all have these special sort of white bits of card for you to sign that are like really well presented and obviously perfection, as everything is in Japan. And they will come with their pen ready to go. Like, they're so prepared. They don't leave anything to chance. And I spent the next probably 40 minutes in between sort of races just signing non-stop, and people try and give you gifts and all sorts of stuff. Like, it's just totally different. And even, and then again on like social media and stuff, it's nice when you get your phone back on the Sunday night and you can see the response to what you've sort of done over the weekend. And like, there was never anything negative. It was all just positive. And same when I went to leave Japan, they were the same, don't go, things like that. And it was really nice. It sort of made you feel good every time. I mean, look, obviously riding winners makes you feel good anyway, but then to get that response and see, like you said, just how much respect they have. And they're the same for, the trainers and the owners as well. They're calling out to everyone. They've just got so much respect for the people that are within the industry, and they love the horse. Like, they really love the horse. When the horse comes to do the sort of winning photo, you can hear them all sort of calling out, but then also they have so much respect. They even like little things like when you go to get on in the mounting yard, they'll just go like silent because they don't want to disturb the horses and they don't want to upset the horses. Wow. And things like that. Like, they're just, I don't know. It's just incredible the way like that level of respect they have for the whole industry. And from your point of view and your experience of, how you prepare and, you get yourself into that full game mode. Obviously you had a lot of success at that stakes level. Was there anything that you recall that you'd love to see maybe implemented here in Sydney? Maybe any little cultural things that are maybe hard to replicate, but you'd love to see here? And was there anything that you would love them to maybe implement? Maybe something like the barriers, or how you, I don't know, maybe how you do interviews. Was there anything pro that you'd love to take back to Australia? And is there anything con you'd love to take to Japan?
Look, I don't know quite how they have or how they've created that passion for it. But I think little things like the crowd just seem to be very involved. They can get very close, like even little things like in the enclosure, they're right on the fence, close to you. You know, the fans feel like they can almost, you know, kind of reach out and touch the horses. I'm not quite sure how they get that passion, but to get those crowd numbers and things in Oz would be incredible. And I think a lot of it is education, and that's a big thing. Like I think, you know, they're over there. They're, like I said, they've got that passion for the horse. They've got that respect for the horse. I don't know if people in Oz necessarily, not that they don't have it, they don't know enough probably about it, and know enough and like how the horses are prepared, how they're treated, how they're looked after, and how they're trained, and all that kind of stuff, to then go and, you know, perform on these big days. And same with the jockeys, like they're like, you know, they're sort of treated like proper celebrity sports people in Japan, and I feel like that level could definitely somehow, I'm not quite sure how, but it could step up a notch here. You know, and I think a lot of the time when we're probably not thought of as, you know, that professional sort of sports person, we're not thought of the same as like a soccer player or a footy player or something like that. We, for some reason or another, racing is just that little bit behind. But whereas in Japan, like they're on the same level as their top sports people. Like they would get stopped in the street. They would, you know, I went to restaurants where people recognized me and stuff. Like I've never had that happen before. Like just in the middle of Tokyo, like I've, you know, hours away from a racetrack, and within being there for like 2 weeks, people like, and I mean, look, it was probably kind of obvious because I'm obviously not Japanese, so I don't know, maybe I'm just making myself sound better, but like that was pretty cool. Like that, I felt like I was a proper professional sports person, so it was interesting.
I quite enjoyed their different takes. It is odd. I don't know, maybe Australia is so passionate about sport because they do love their sport, right? But they can be a fraction brass neck about it sometimes. So they're no problem bagging out footy players, trainers, whatever, because they put the point of view, and that's always been so the Aussie camaraderie. But I just like remember, like I think there was a day where I think you were maybe on a couple of favourites, and quite a lot of the Japanese people had like tweeted or commented to you, please don't be disappointed in Japan racing. And I was thinking, what a strange, like...
They'll apologise.
They'll apologise to you, right? Which I thought was so odd, because Mitch Beard just put a tweet out the other day saying, I had a terrible day at the races, but not as bad as this bloke, who absolutely laced him, right? And I read the whole thing and I'm like, I still don't know what this guy's mad about. Is it just Mitch in general? Or like, what is it? But where they had a very different outlook, like it was like, oh my God, we're so sad you had a terrible day.
Yeah.
But you'll definitely still ride next week, right? Like, I thought it was wild.
And the trainers are the same. Like, you get off a horse and, you know, especially like Mr. Hori, who I rode for a lot, like, if I didn't have at least one winner for him every weekend, he would apologise. Or if one ran slightly below par, it didn't matter how you rode it. And there was a couple of times I was like, please don't apologise. Like, please don't. You know, like, it's okay. You know, they're not machines. Yeah. They are horses. But he would understand that. Like, he's, you know, they've prepared their horse as well as they can. They've brought it to the races thinking, obviously, hoping it's going to win. He's prepared it to perfection. He's left no stone unturned. But, you know, if things don't quite go right, they were the ones apologising to me. And I felt almost guilty when they did that. I was like, it's fine. You know, it's not your fault. It's no one's fault. You know, it's not anyone's fault. But at least they understood that. Like, they're not machines. They are horses. Things can happen. But yeah, that reaction was incredible, that they would just emphasize with you a little bit, I guess, and feel bad for you. Like,
do you think you can remember a time that Gay's ever apologized for putting you on one that hasn't gone to plan?
No.
Bjorn, has he ever apologized?
No, definitely not.
Just checking, just in case. So just obviously you had such a successful time. We were wondering, are you going to end up being there full time? Like, what's going to happen? And then obviously you rode quite a few horses, which would be lovely to go ride again later in the year. But you can only do one short-term license in Japan a year internationally.
Yeah, so you get when you sort of qualify. I qualify for 2 calendar years but you can only do one stint per calendar year. So you get 2 months the first stint, and then the next one you get 3 months, but it has to be in the next calendar year.
Okay. But so you do have the option for next year to
So I have the option
3 months.
already to apply at least for next year.
Yep.
I still then have to be picked. They still only take 5 at a time, same as when I applied before. They only take the 5, so you have to, even though you qualify, you still have to apply, and then obviously if they get more than 5, they've got to pick who they want.
Yep. And so say you applied next year and you were obviously granted the 3 months, would you still go the same time you went this year?
I'm not sure really. Look, it did fit in quite well. And as we were saying before, Mr. Horry he does like using the internationals, and he's kind of got it quite well set up really now, because he's got he had myself beginning of the year, then he has, I think, Joe Moreira goes next, and then Damien Lane, and then Ryan Moore. So he's sort of got everyone doing 3-month stints. It nearly covers his whole year, so I think, it fitted in well that he didn't have anyone at that time. It seems like the others sort of weren't really putting their hand up to go at that time, maybe because of the cold, I'm not sure. But so it did fit in well last year. Look, it would have to be one of those things, we sort of just play it by ear and see. And obviously with carnival time here as well, it's, I've got to be kind of making sure I'm here at the right time of year.
Now, I understand you got a bit of a fine when you were up there. Now, explain to me what happened in the barriers and how did you pick up a fine?
So I let my horse behave badly. Obviously it wasn't intentional, because it didn't end very well for me, to be honest. It was one of those freak things that, like, obviously look, they're slightly different with their barriers. The barrier boys don't stay in the gate with you. You're on your own. They're very Japanese about the way they load their horses, very efficient, very fast. And the minute the last one is in and the barrier attendant's out the front, they go.
Yep.
Pretty much, no matter what. And as I found out, because my horse was literally, as they were sort of about to go, I think the starter probably had his finger, halfway down on the button.
Yeah.
Mine just did a backflip, like literally just did a backflip. And so the whole field have jumped while I'm sort of 3/4 of the way over backwards. Just one of those freak things, we all know horses can have that little moment. I don't know whether my horse heard a noise or what. I'm not quite sure what set her off, but she did that, and I sort of managed to kind of just about save myself by putting an arm out and grabbing the side of the gates, so I wasn't completely underneath her. But then the horse was sort of stuck upside down, kind of on top of me for a little bit. It was a little bit hectic for a moment or two. Anyway, we both got out of it unscathed. It was okay. But yeah, their ruling is anytime a horse does pretty much anything wrong, even if it's, out of your control. Obviously, I didn't want it to do that. I didn't tell it to do that.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't tell it to do that. It's the jockey is at fault as such, so you get a little fine for it.
Now, you weren't just the only international rider in Japan. Why do you think that you might have had a more successful stint than maybe a couple of the other guys? From what I understand, maybe one of the boys left early and went back to the UK, but with that change of, race patterns, style, maybe the calibre of animal, maybe even probably your support you received, how and why do you think that stint was particularly successful for yourself?
Look, I think riding in Sydney is very, very competitive, very difficult. You're pushed to your sort of limit all the time, and I think that prepares you for everywhere. I've been lucky enough to travel a bit and, go to Japan for the Jockey Challenge, go to Hong Kong for the Jockey Challenge, and ride winners. So I think it gives you that sort of groundwork to adapt wherever you go. And obviously starting in England, then coming to Australia, just, I have been lucky enough to ride in a few different places. So I realise you can't just ride the same everywhere you go. You have got to adapt. There is slight differences. You can try, and it might work every now and then, but it is, you've got to try and adapt. Obviously the horses are different, so you've got to try and, get to know them as quickly as possible. Same adapting to different tracks. And I think the first racetrack I rode at was Nakayama, and it was sort of like a sharper, kind of more on speed sort of track. So I guess it probably was more similar to some of the Aussie tracks.
Yep.
So I had a bit of luck there, which, you know, that then kind of snowballed and rolled. Trainers see you riding winners, and then obviously they want to put you on more.
Yep.
So that definitely helped. And again, just the support from Mr. Horry and his owners was invaluable. You know, it's not all the internationals that were there at the same time were lucky enough to get that kind of similar support. Obviously the trainers were trying, you know, to sort of put them on as much as possible, whoever they had, whichever jockeys they had that they were there sponsored, but it just sometimes wasn't always possible. But like I said, my trainer was definitely a big part of my success.
And I understand even the morning culture of how they train horses there and the processes you have to go when exercising the horses in the morning. Was there any particular changes? How do you give feedback, you know, with obviously the language barrier? Explain to me the track work aspect. Can you walk in off the street and watch the track work, or is it very closed shop? What's the feedback like? Give us a bit of rundown of what track work's like.
There's sort of two main training centres, and they're very much closed shop. It's sort of like, even the first morning I got there, I had to fill out heaps of paperwork, had to take my passport to prove who I was to get a pass to go in, and then every morning had to sort of show a little pass that we had to get through the security gates and everything. And probably a little bit of a mix really between I found it a bit of a mix between kind of an Aussie track work and an English sort of track work. They're much longer lots, like the track work riders are on the horses for a lot longer. They do a long sort of walk and trot warm up, and then come over to where the sort of main training tracks are, and that's where I would then jump on. Normally go for a trot, especially with Mr. Horry's horses. I'd go for a trot and give sort of feedback. So I had Adam Harrigan with me, my interpreter, at track work as well, to be able to help me obviously talk to everyone, take the horse for a trot, give it a little bit of feedback, just how it feels, things like that, and then get sort of instructions for work. And then they'd go out, they'd always do a warm-up sort of canter first, and then go out and do their main gallop. And majority of the work I did sort of main gallops was on the flat wood chip, but they did have an uphill wood chip as well. I did some probably more canter work up there, just getting to know different horses. But yeah, that's why. And then I'll swap back again, give feedback to the trainer, but then also, just as importantly, a lot of feedback to the track work rider, they would ride the same horses every day, look after them every single day. They wanted to know even more. They would ask more questions. They were very, very passionate about their horses, really wanted to know a lot. And then they would go off and go for a little walk and trot. And I think it was my last morning there, Horry actually said, "Oh, do you want to, go for the walk afterwards? Like, I really want to show you where they go." Because I just thought they were walking around where the stables are. I had no idea where they went. I didn't know. But out the back of the training track, he called it actually the Shanti of Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
So it was went through all these woods, and there was like up and down hills, through trees, and all the horses, you could feel them. The minute they got into this sort of wooded area, it was like a big park basically, they just relax, and it was like walking home from a gallop in England. All just got that chance to just really relax, chill out, and you could see exactly how they've recovered, how they're coping with their work, things like that. And it was great. I loved it. Like, it was like a good 35 minute walk, but it was great. I was like, this is so enjoyable. I mean, it was a nice day, so it probably helped, but I thought, things like that, like, you just wouldn't see on a normal morning track work. But that was a really sort of cool side to see.
What would you mostly have raced? Because I know I seen a lot on the turf, but I was seeing a lot on the dirt. What was the ratio between what sort of tracks you rode on?
There's actually more dirt races than turf.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't like the dirt, to be honest. I got used to it, but
I
don't like the kickback.
No, the kickback is
yeah.
And it kind of looks a bit like how like the Americans describe it, that they race in the slop.
Yeah.
Is that what it was like?
It's different. Yeah, you do get used to it, and again, it's another thing. Like, I feel like I learned a lot riding on the dirt because it's different tempo.
Yeah.
Horses, you can go. It's weird because when it's wet, you can actually go faster.
Okay.
sort of bizarre. It kind of works the opposite way. They can almost go. They can really run time on the wet, and they just sort of don't stop. So it's very different. You find dirt stuck in your ears and everywhere for about weeks afterwards.
Because I always find, like, if you watch like the Work Farm Pro Ride trials, I find it really hard for horses to make ground up there. I find it's like wherever they jump and where they land tends to be where they're staying for the remainder of it. You know, turf is always a little bit different. So, yeah, I was quite intrigued by the dirt. I don't know what I thought was going to happen when, obviously, we talked about you going to Japan. Then when I seen the dirt, I was like, hold on, where are we? I wasn't aware that they did that as much, but come in handy for the pro ride trials.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll be even better at pro ride trials now.
Would that give you a little bit, you know, we're talking, you know, hypotheticals, but would you like to go to America and have a go in those big dirt races?
Oh, I wouldn't say no to going anywhere. I think it's sort of a bit of fun, like to get an experience. And again, it's, you know, it's only going to help you, I think, you know, further your career. And I definitely wouldn't say no if an opportunity came up.
I think for the wrap up on the part of Japan, it was pretty epic. Definitely happy to go back. And if anyone else got the opportunity, you would advise them to go? Definitely,
yeah. I think it's a great learning curve, and just to go and see, you know, they've also got their quality of horses is amazing, but they're very different as well. You know, they breed all those sort of more middle distance to long distance kind of horses. Yep. So I think it's definitely a valuable sort of opportunity if it ever came up.
Out of all the internationals, Luke Morris didn't particularly enjoy it.
No.
He vacated early, didn't he? But at the others, did everyone else have, probably not as successful as you, but they all still had good trips?
Yeah, look, as far as I know, like most of them all the rest of them were sort of keen to, you know, have a go again. They had success. Look, and, you know, obviously success helps. Like poor Luke didn't get the most success, so it was sort of probably tough. But I think the others that went definitely were keen to have another go. And I think probably had that feeling of, well, I've done it once, I might know a little bit more next time. I might, you know, fit in a little bit better next time, and be able to sort of capitalize on that opportunity.
What's your Japanese like now?
Terrible.
Did you pick up anything?
Not really. I tried, but then like they do the same as Aussies do. They shorten words, so you learn something, and then like I could say "Ohayou gozaimasu," which is sort of like good morning. They shorten it so much that it just says "maz." That's it. I was like, what does that mean? But that means the same.
Did you learn help at any point? Like if you're any situation?
No, that I probably should have, but maybe in the gates I should have.
No, I think you're very brave going somewhere. I mean, racing tends to have an international language, so you tend to work out, like, you know what it is that's happening. However, I take my hat off to you because you were literally on your own there, hoping for the best. I mean, that nothing untoward happened, so you couldn't tell anyone about it. Well, we're definitely glad to have you back. It felt like forever. I felt like forever that you were away.
It was a long trip.
Where's this girl coming back? And you came back at the most exciting time. Well, one of the most exciting. I don't know. What do you reckon? Autumn or spring? What do you prefer?
Wherever I can ride a Group 1 winner. Not fussy.
Tell me, what's it like since you've been back?
Yeah, it's good. Look, it's always tough being away, and you got to, you know, let people know you're back, and it's hard because obviously people have, you know, other jockeys have been riding all the horses for the last 2 months. I've got to kind of try and slot my way back in, but that's where I've got to rely on, you know, owners and trainers sort of hopefully throwing that support my way, and get back on a few of my sort of old favourites and things like that. But yeah, I know it's always a little bit of a slow process when you first come back, and just letting everyone know you're back and ready to go.
Looking at the slipper, what would you expect to be sitting on in the slipper, or which one at the moment? Where would we expect to see you in the slipper?
It is worth knowing. You did start a rumour in the last podcast.
What was the rumour? I can't remember.
Oh, I started the rumour that you might be on Storm Boy.
Oh.
I was like, well, technically it's not been announced yet. I was like, maybe they can't decide between Ryan and James, and someone puts in R. Did they mean Rachel? Did they mean Ryan? I'm just going to put down Rachel King because she writes a gay.
I wish your rumour would come true.
You know what? Look, there's been plenty. Dean Holland, he rode in secret.
True.
You got to be available. And
Can we get Ryan to Mrs. Flight or something? Like,
maybe, well, I'm sure there's a connection in the UK that could maybe go into that first class lounge and maybe like
just lock him in there.
Just lock him. Sorry, Mr. Moore, kind. So when this was recorded, this is 6 days out from the slipper. Do you know what you're riding in the slipper yet, and can you divulge what you're on? I
don't know. I'll be happy to ride anything, to be honest, especially for the Waterhouse Bot team. That would be great. But they've got a stranglehold, I think, on it. Just the sheer numbers and the quality that they've got. So I am, just sitting, waiting, keeping fingers crossed, hoping something pops up.
Looking at the field, Stormboy's pretty strong. Switzerland. Watching it from afar, is there any horse you just looked at the field and went, I think they're maybe discounting that horse's opportunity because there's been so much hype around like Stormboy? Is there anything in the field, especially in the Gary Waterhouse Bot camp, is there anything that you look at there and go, there's a smoky there? That horse could run well above its odds.
Yeah, I don't know. God, just watching, I mean, obviously I haven't been sort of back here and at track work and things. I probably haven't got as close to them as I normally would have this time of year. But I mean, watching from afar, like it's hard to go past Stormboy. Like I've seen him at track work, and you see him the other day when he did his track gallop. I think he was with a 3-year-old. He was double the size of it.
Oh, really?
Like he's just he's just a beast. And but then look again with like Switzerland the same. Like he's done nothing wrong. Like I think I think Coolmore have got a serious sort of hold on it. I think they've done a great job, and it's very hard to look past them. But you know, I think any of the Waterhouse Bot runners, just the way they've been racing, you've just got to have so much respect for all of them.
One horse that obviously you had a fantastic spring with, we've seen him a couple of weeks ago, Osmosis. What are you hoping for this preparation with him? I'm really excited for him this prep. He's got to step up again to sort of kind of face the big boys, I guess, these sort of sprinters that are probably a little bit more seasoned than him. But for a horse coming off his campaign, the way he's come back, I couldn't be happier. Like I certainly wouldn't be swapping him for anything else. I think he's improved again. It was sort of get more of a gauge when he comes out in the Galaxy and see what he can do there. But I think he's just a horse. They've done the right thing. They've been patient. You know, he had a decent break. They could have rushed him back a little bit sooner, and targeted sort of some of those Melbourne races a bit sooner in the carnival. But they did the right thing, gave him plenty of time, and I think it's going to really pay them back. He's got a fantastic attitude, which I think is very important for a good colt. I've been lucky enough to be involved track work wise, sort of with a few of Gay's, good horses. And those good colts have always got something in common, which is that just great attitude, and that will to win, which he's got. Now that covers Osmosis, covers the Golden Slipper. What else is on your what's on your radar? Just Fine. What else? What do you have to look forward to over the autumn carnival that you know of?
Anything that someone will put me on that'll win a Group 1.
Yeah.
No, look, they're sort of the main ones, and just I find I'm lucky in the way like I can ride light, so those lightweight races are definitely a good opportunity for me. So hopefully it's obviously hard picking the right ones, or trying to get on them as well, but hopefully there'll be a few horses in that category that we can find in those nice Group 1s and with nice lightweights, and that's sort of normally where most of my opportunities come up.
And I love a good rumour. I love starting a good rumour. And I love speculating.
What's he going to start now?
Is there anything that might be on the international radar for maybe like Royal Ascot? Anything that, or do you expect to head back and do anything in the summer for a change, another change of jurisdiction?
Well, we do have our wedding the weekend before Ascot, Luke and I. So we planned it well that we get married on the Sunday, and then we're going to go to Ascot for the week. And for a few days at least. And actually last year we went similar time of year and went to Ascot, and I had my old boss Clive Cox and a few of his owners kind of said, why didn't you bring your gear like that old? So I said, right, next year I will. So I would love to. I was lucky enough to ride at Ascot Racecourse when I rode in England before, but never at the Royal Meeting. So to get any ride at Royal Ascot would be unbelievable. So I definitely will put my hand up a bit more this year. I will plan to go back and try and take my riding stuff and try and get a few rides here and there would be great. And again, it's another I can ride light, so that's handy. So that's definitely something sort of on my radar this year.
Clive's surely going to find you on.
I messaged him straight away. I mean, he didn't really respond.
But he's just fine. He's just working.
He's just
out.
finding the right one, definitely. Yeah.
Britannia. There's a lot of big handicaps.
I don't know what race you're trying to talk about.
Britannia, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Britannia Cup.
I don't know. There's a lot of big handicaps.
Surely there's enough. There'll surely be a spare one somewhere.
We'll find you one. But
yeah.
God, it would be good. Did you ever ride for Clive? Because I know that you were an amateur at that point.
Yeah. So I actually rode for Clive at Ascot in it used to be called the Den's Gift.
Oh, he was gorgeous.
Yes.
He was the most
Den's
beautiful
Gift
boy.
Finished 4th, I think. It used to be called the Diamond Race because you used to win the diamond necklace, the ladies' amateur race.
Yeah.
I think it changed. It's still, I think, sponsored by Longines, but it's something else. But it's always known as sort of the Diamond Race. So I got to ride. So I have ridden for Clive at Ascot.
Oh, well, it's just one step up,
Exactly.
really.
Yeah.
Coxie, you're only asking for a nice Group 1 somewhere.
Not asking for much, surely.
But that would be quite interesting. Obviously, like Clive knows you've got good relations there, so that's going to be. Obviously, I think he'd find you something. But do you think you might go and just? Obviously, you'll be home anyway. But do you think you'll try and maybe go and ride out for a few people and just see what's happening on the ground there?
Well, it might be hard before Ascot because we've got the wedding on. But
no,
but if there's rides on the table, I'll definitely be happy to go and do that.
Who's closest to you at home?
There's not really that many because Lambourne's sort of the closest training centre.
Yeah, centre.
So I mean, yeah, I'd probably have to get a little fine tune up, I guess, of Clive's.
Yeah, okay. I did ride out when I went back.
How'd it go?
Woof. It was actually pretty good. I had the quietest horse by all means. They literally were like, "You will be fine, believe me."
Was it one of Emily's ponies?
It was not. But I'm a bit sad they didn't offer me that. Just like, and I did. I wanted to. I just wanted to go for old time's sake. And do you know, he was so lovely. So he sent me down. And he said, all right, you can go at the start of the string. And I was like, I don't know where I'm going. He's like, this is your day. Go on, you relive this. And I was like, okay. And now when you go down to the gallop, there's actually, they've done a few, we used to just like head up out of the arena, up round the top, round that little loop, and then you're either going to the halfway mark or on the end. Now there's actually 2 or 3 little trails that you can go around to take you
I
down.
saw last time I was there, didn't he plant some new hedge to give them shelter walking to the gallop?
So I got to the top of the fork and I was like, oh, which way do we go? And he's like, it's your day, you choose whichever day you want. And then the head lad, so I went to go right, and the head lad, Curtis, was like, don't go that way. I was like, fine. It's like, it's your day, but we'll all die if you go that way. Go that way. So that was really good fun. And then, of course, when we went to jump off, I was like, no, a couple need to go by me because I don't know what the pace is here anymore. Like, I could be sending this thing up here at 11th. Like, but no, it was great. It was actually great. It was. But when we jumped off, because we did the full length of the gallop, when we jumped off the bottom, I was like, I got to the halfway bit and I was like, we're only halfway. But it was good. It was really good. And I think you'd really enjoy it because obviously when we were there was a lot less horses.
Yeah.
And I think, Clive was at the time, obviously, I was so lucky that I had gilt edge. So we got the monkey off the back by getting that Group 1 winner. But I feel now that he has such a much bigger operation, but he was so much more relaxed when I was there.
Yeah.
And it was really good fun. I really enjoyed it.
It's nice to see like how the growth and just how well everything's going for it because we all love Clive. Like he's just he's the best, and it's one of those places like we worked there how many years ago and you still talk about it all the time.
I loved it. I really loved reliving my youth. Like I literally went up the gallop and then I thought, God, I could go at the malt shovel tonight or the blowing stone.
That might be pushing it a bit far.
But that was epic. Ah, Rach, we're so delighted to have you back. I think you did so well in Japan, and I'm so excited to see, as you said, I know that it was more of a strategic move to both learn something, but also to make more relationships as well internationally. And I really hope that that does pay off. And it might not even be this year or the following year, but I think it will. I think those relationships meet forks in the road somewhere. And the thought of maybe getting over to the UK, I mean, you might not win a Group 1 at Royal Ascot, the Ascot meeting, but that's what you would love. But
That's the aim.
Yes. But being able to go and get a couple of rides at, a Royal meeting or at Glorious Goodwood or any of those sort of meetings that are around then, it's more relationship building, right?
Yeah, definitely. Look, and people are travelling horses more and more. It's becoming easier to travel horses more and more.
Yep.
So, I think it's great to build connections wherever you can. And like you said, they might not pay off straight away, but sometime in the future, you'll look back and think, oh, I'm glad I did that.
Just to continue with David's rumour mill, so is Bjorn sending anything to Ascot?
Not that I know of. I need to try and find something.
You should convince him.
I try all the time.
Overpass should probably. He's a beautiful fit. And Just Fine. Gay could send Just Fine, couldn't she?
Gold Cup.
Big step up.
All right.
Just go and take one of the best 2 mile plus horses.
But Rach loves that horse. It runs for Rach. But let's try and find you something, and you should really keep your ear to the ground, because that would be...
Yeah. Any Australian trainers that want to send one? I've already ridden around Ascot. I've been there, done that. I know my way around. It's fine.
What do you think Luke would say if you're like, oh, look, we're going to have to postpone this wedding? I've actually ended up way too busy.
Well, that's why we put it on the Sunday. So at least I've got Monday in between, and then Ascot starts on the Tuesday. This is all strategic planning. It can all happen. It's fine.
Well, Rach, thanks very much for your time. Great to chat. We love having you back, obviously. Busiest time of the year. Couple of rumours started. We'll follow up with them.
You'll keep them churning.
I'll keep them lukewarm, and you never.
Ryan Moore does get stuck in the first class lounge,
You're going to get the blame.
Yeah, if Ryan Moore gets stuck, or Overpass ends up in the market for the Diamond Jubilee Stakes, or any randomness, I'll promise that we'll follow up with it. But no, I think it's been fascinating just to catch up on your time in Japan. Big carnival ahead, and hopefully we can catch up again soon. Post carnival.
When we're celebrating lots more Group 1s and lots more success. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.